Hello and welcome back to the world of the spirit consciousness. This is a continuation of a book study session on the astral body and other astral phenomena. We are now in the last section of the 11th module where we will be discussing other miscellaneous phenomena. So diving straight into the subject, this particular topic is subdivided into four topics: visual appearance of objects in the astral plane, tactile experience on the astral plane, the communication in the particular plane, and the environment on the astral plane. So coming to the visual appearance of objects in the astral plane, so again it is subdivided. It is wrongly referred to as an illusion. However, the view on the astral plane is a lot more holistic. More forms of matter are visible, which causes a lack of initial understanding in what is seen. An example is given of seeing a rock in the astral plane. Then there are other nuances of recording the sightings in the astral plane. The impact of light on astral plane is discussed, and a brief discussion on records of astral light. So coming straight in, so many people call the astral plane as an illusion because the impressions returned from there are very undependable for an untrained seer. However, it is as much an illusion as the physical world is. This can be explained by two wonderful features of the astral plane. The astral beings have a remarkable power to quickly change their form and practice unlimited magic on those they want to play with. The astral sight is much enlarged and different from the physical sight. With astral vision, one can see an object from all the sides at the same time, along with every fragment of the solid's interior. This is visible as clearly as the object is seen from outside on the physical plane without the filter of perspective. For example, if one looks at a watch astrally, they'd see the face of the watch separately, the wheels separately with nothing overlaying each other. If one looks at a book astrally, they'd see each page and none of it as front and back, but directly the page as it is the only page to be seen. So here there are more forms of matter visible. So along with these probable points of mistakes, when one is trying to see on the astral plane, there is one more factor which complicates things further. So astral vision is aware of those forms of matter which cannot be seen in normal conditions, even though completely physical. For example, the matter which makes up the atmosphere, the constant emissions of every living organism, the four grades of etheric matter. So the astral vision is capable of viewing colors beyond the ordinary physical spectrum, like ultra red and ultraviolet rays, which the physical science acknowledges, but only the astral vision can see. So from such conditions, it is understandable that even the familiar objects are difficult to recognize at first. An untrained visitor will surely find it difficult to understand what he or she sees. She will find it even more difficult to translate it into the insufficient physical language. However, on further consideration of astral vision, one will realize that it is much more closer to a true depiction than physical vision, which is distorted by perspective. So we have an example of seeing a rock in the astral plane. So if you see it as a firm example, it is not simply seen as a stone. With the astral vision, instead of one part of the physical matter, it is seen in its entirely the physical particles. Vibrations can be seen, the astral counterpart and its several grades of astral matter which are always in motion are seen. The prana or the universal life can be seen circulating through it and emitting from it. Its surrounding aura can be seen. Its suitable elemental essence is seen penetrating it, always active but constantly fluctuating. The above are seen in a much more complicated form in the vegetable, animal, and human life. So another example of a usual mistake on the astral plane is that seer often reverses any number she or he has to record. For example, 1138 may read as 8311. A student who is trained under a master is less likely to make this error unless in a careless hurry. This is because to be able to see correctly on the astral plane, he or she has to undergo a long and elaborate course of instruction. Over a period of time, an experienced seer develops the confidence and sureness in interpreting astral occurrences which is beyond any possibilities on the physical plane. So now we will discuss the impact of light on the astral plane. So the sun gives light to all the planes, but on the astral plane its impact is different from that on the physical plane. The astral plane has a diffused luminosity with no clear sense of the source of light. Astral matter has its own luminosity and is not like a painted sphere. Instead, it is like a sphere of living fire. There is no darkness on the astral plane. A physical cloud passing in front of the light doesn't affect the astral plane, nor does the earthly shadow called night. The astral bodies are transparent, so there are no shadows. Finally, coming to the records of astral light. So the records of astral light, which has been called so mistakenly, forms a significant part of astral surrounding. So these records are actually a kind of divine memories materialization, an alive photographic display of everything that has occurred. They are permanently influenced on a much higher stage, but intermittent reflections of it occur on the astral matter. So this is so that someone whose power of vision can't reach the higher states can still access the occasional separated pictures of past instead of one sensible tale. However, these reflected images of past are continuously reproduced in the astral plane and are an integral part of the explorer's surroundings there. So we have quickly looked at the various factors of visual appearance of objects in the astral plane. Now we will see the tactile experience on the astral plane. So again, this has been subdivided into topics. So surfaces feel different in the astral plane. We'll quickly discuss about moving an astral body with an astral hand, how astral beings pass through each other without colliding, and explosion on the astral plane. So one does not feel the surface of an object as rough, smooth, hard, soft, hot, cold on the astral plane. Instead, one senses a different rate of vibration levels upon contacting the interpenetrating object. The vibratory sense received itself may be pleasant or unpleasant, or stimulating or depressing. Hence, if an astral being is standing on the ground, the astral body interpenetrates the underneath ground, but the astral body can feel neither the tough surface nor any change in the movement's power. An individual can float over a precipice rather than jumping over it. What about moving an astral body with an astral hand? So, an astral hand can move an astral only object but not the astral equivalent of a physical object. So let me explain this. So consider two astral bodies, body A and body B. Out of these, A is a purely astral object and B is attached to another physical object. Now the astral hand can move this, but it cannot move this. So to move the astral equivalent, one would have to materialize a hand, that's a physical hand, and move the physical object, and the astral equivalent would move accordingly. The equivalent exists because of the physical object. That is, equivalent astral body exists because of the physical object, like there is a scent of a flower because the flower is present. Trying to move a physical object by its astral equivalent would be like trying to move the flower through its fragrance. So astral beings can pass through each other without colliding. So while we talk of astral matter as solid, it is actually only somewhat so. So one of the reasons why astral matter was depicted as water by medieval alchemists is because it is fluid and penetrable. The thickest astral particles are more distant from each other than gaseous particles compared to their size. So two of the densest astral particles can pass through each other more easily than the lightest gas can scatter in air. So astral beings can constantly pass through each other and through the other fixed astral objects. So a collision as we understand is not possible on the astral plane, and usually two bodies that pass through each other are not even impacted. However, if the interpenetration goes on for a long time, for example, when two people sit side by side in a theater or a church, some significant impact may occur. And if an individual thinks a mountain is an obstruction, he or she will not be able to pass through it. To not think of it as a hindrance is exactly the motive of a part of the test of Earth. So coming to tactile experience explosion on the astral plane. So on the astral plane, an explosion can have a similar impact as of explosion of gunpowder on the physical plane. However, the astral matter recollects itself immediately thereafter. Hence, there is no accident in the physical sense of it on the astral plane. The latter is fluid and cannot be wounded or destroyed like the physical. So coming to communication in the astral plane, so like on the physical plane, communication in the astral world is restricted by an entity's knowledge. Someone who can utilize the mind body can easily and quickly express their thoughts to humans as compared to on earth with the help of mental impressions. However, the normal occupants of the astral plane often cannot utilize this power because they seem to be controlled by restrictions like those on Earth, although the same may be less rigid. As a result, they are seen communicating more with similar groups of common beliefs, language, and rapport, just like on Earth. So, finally, coming to the environment on the astral plane. So conditions of climate and atmosphere basically don't affect the astral and mental planes. However, being in a big city has a huge impact because of the huge number of thought forms. People who don't have enough will or those who are not aware how to utilize it are carried away by the astral currents. Sleep does not exist on the astral plane. Forgetting is possible and much easier on the astral plane than on the physical plane because there is always a lot of activity going on in the astral plane. It is not necessary that if one knows someone in the astral plane, they knew them in the physical world too. So with this, we come to an end to the other miscellaneous phenomena and to the subject on the astral plane. Our next module will deal with some more astral phenomena and with the fourth dimension. Stay tuned.